You like to believe that once you finally see the truth, the lie dies. The mask comes off, the story collapses, and you walk away knowing where you stand. But that is not how your brain works. Even when the proof is right in front of you, your mind will quietly reach for any excuse, any angle, any alternative narrative that lets you keep believing what you always believed. You do not just have to deal with other people lying to you. You have to deal with your own brain trying to protect you from the truth. Picture this. You sit across from your partner at the kitchen table. Your phone is in your hand. On the screen is a conversation you were never supposed to see. The messages are explicit, personal, undeniable. There are dates, times, locations. You scroll in silence. Your body understands first. Your stomach drops. Your hands go cold. Your vision tunnels. The facts are simple. They are not complicated. They are not out of context. And yet, the first thoughts that rise in your mind are not, "I have been lied to." The first thoughts are softer, more desperate. Maybe this was before we got serious. Maybe they were just venting. Maybe it looks worse than it is. Your eyes see betrayal. Your brain starts writing an alternate script before you have even finished the thread. Listen to the questions that come out of your mouth. What is this? Instead of, why did you lie to me? Who is this? Instead of, how long has this been going on? You already know what it is. You already know who. Those questions are not for information. They are for escape. Every weak answer they give you, a slip, a mistake, a joke, a misunderstanding, lands like a life raft. You know the raft is made of paper, but you still grab it, because the alternative is dropping straight into a reality where the person you trusted is not who you thought they were, and the person who trusted their judgment is you. On one side is a clean, sharp truth that will cut everything open. On the other is a shaky excuse that lets you delay the cut. Your brain knows which one hurts less in this second. It pushes you toward the lie. Underneath all the drama is something brutally simple. Your identity is built on stories you tell about yourself. I am not stupid. I would see it coming. I can read people. I am not the kind of person who gets played. The evidence on your screen is not just about your partner's behavior. It is about those stories. If you accept the messages as they are, you have to accept that you are wrong about them and wrong about yourself. You misjudged. You ignored signs. You stayed when you should have walked. That realization triggers the same circuits in your brain that light up when you touch something hot. Emotional pain is processed like physical pain. And just like you instinctively pull your hand away from a flame, your mind pulls away from the thought, I was fooled. It is easier in the moment to believe, this is more complicated, than to say, I was wrong. The pattern does not stop at relationships. Take politics, ideology, any belief you have invested years defending. A man spends a decade convinced that his favorite leader is honest, decent, different from the corrupt ones. He argues online, cuts off friends, rolls his eyes at brainwashed people on the other side. Then a leak drops. Audio, video, documents, financial records. The same leader caught lying, taking money, breaking rules he preached about. You might think the man would feel shock and then update his belief. Often, the opposite happens. The more damning the evidence, the more creative his brain becomes. That clip is edited. The timing is suspicious. Everyone does this. They're just targeting him. When facts and identity collide, facts rarely win. Watch his reactions if you press the issue. His voice rises, not with uncertainty, but with anger. His arguments shift from the content of the evidence to the motives of the people showing it to him. He is not just defending a politician. He is defending himself from the humiliation of saying, I spent years mocking other people for being fooled while I was fooled the same way. Accepting the truth would force him to rewrite a huge part of his personal story. The people he trusted, the fights he picked, the way he saw himself as smarter than the crowd. That rewrite is painful and slow. Much easier, at least in the moment, to throw the evidence into the mental trash folder labeled propaganda and keep the old story intact. The lie is more comfortable than the truth because the lie protects his sense of who he is. Now look at the quiet lies you aim at yourself. You wake up every day exhausted and call it just a busy season. Your chest is tight, your heart races, but you tell yourself it's probably nothing. You watch your spending spiral, ignore the numbers in your banking app, and reassure yourself that it will sort itself out. Your browser history, your habits at night, the way you use your phone, somewhere in you, you know exactly what they mean. Then a doctor shows you your results, or your card gets declined, or someone close to you says, very plainly, this is a problem. In that instant, reality delivers a clear verdict. Your brain should pivot. This is serious. I need to change. Instead, it often whispers something else. It's not that bad. They're exaggerating. I'll fix it later.
That whisper is not random weakness. It is a survival mechanism. Real change is hard. It costs energy, time, status, comfort. Admitting that you need to change means admitting that the way you have been living until now has consequences. Your brain is built to avoid immediate pain, even at the expense of future pain. So it hacks the situation. It does not argue with the numbers themselves. The numbers are obvious. It argues with what they mean. High blood pressure becomes doctors overreacting. Maxed credit cards become normal in this economy. A drinking pattern becomes just blowing off steam. Each reinterpretation moves you one step further from the sharp, unpleasant truth, and one step deeper into a story you can live with for another week, another month, another year. Here is the thread connecting all of these scenes. In every case, access to truth is not the problem. You are not lost in the dark, starving for information. The facts are visible on the screen, in the news, in your body, in your bank account. The real battle happens after the facts arrive, in the space where your brain has to decide what to do with them. If they fit your existing story about yourself, your relationships, your group, your brain lets them in without a fight. If they threaten that story, your brain treats them like an infection. It tries to contain them, neutralize them, reinterpret them, or eject them entirely. And because you don't experience that process as editing reality, but as thinking it through, the result does not feel like a lie. It feels like your honest, considered opinion. That is the most unsettling part. When someone else lies to you, at least in theory, you can catch them, confront them, walk away. When your own brain bends the truth, there is no moment where you hear a fake voice and say, "That's not me." It is you. It uses your memories, your fears, your sense of fairness, your intelligence. It generates arguments that sound smart, feelings that feel sincere, doubts that feel responsible. You can stand in front of concrete evidence, say, "I know this is real," and still, at the same time, feel a deep pull toward a version of events that is easier to live with. It will feel like intuition. It will feel like loyalty. It will feel like standing your ground. And you will not notice that the ground underneath you is made of stories your brain chose because they hurt less, not because they were true. Your brain's talent for self-deception is not just a psychological quirk. It is built into its wiring. To understand why, you have to start with a simple, brutal fact. Your brain is not designed to find the truth. It is designed to keep you alive, to keep you socially accepted, and to keep your inner world from shattering every time reality shifts under your feet. Truth helps with those goals sometimes, but only when it does not threaten the story that holds you together. When it does, the same machinery that usually helps you reason and remember can turn against reality and in favor of a useful lie. One of the key players in this process is something psychologists call cognitive dissonance. Put simply, your brain hates holding two conflicting beliefs about yourself at the same time. "I'm a good judge of character" collides with "I stayed with a liar for years." "I'm smart and informed" collides with "I believed a politician who was obviously corrupt." That clash is not abstract. It shows up in brain scans as activation in areas linked to conflict and pain. Your nervous system treats it like a threat. Faced with that threat, your mind has two options. Option 1, change the belief, admit you were wrong, update your identity, accept the hit to your ego. Option 2, change the interpretation, downgrade the evidence, question the source, invent missing context, reframe the situation so that you were right all along. Option 1 is slow, heavy, and humiliating. Option 2 can happen in seconds and lets you keep your existing story. So your brain leans hard toward option 2 and then convinces you that you just thought about it carefully. This is where confirmation bias and motivated reasoning kick in. Confirmation bias is your brain's habit of paying attention to information that supports what you already believe and downplaying or forgetting what doesn't. Motivated reasoning is what happens when your intelligence becomes a lawyer for your emotions instead of a judge for the facts. You do not say, "I want this to be true, so I'll ignore the evidence." You say, "Let me look at the evidence," and then unconsciously give more weight to anything that lets you keep your prior belief. The smarter you are, the better you are at this. High IQ does not make you immune to self-deception. It makes you better at building elaborate, convincing arguments for why the lie you like is actually the truth.
Your brain also uses a more primitive trick. It literally changes how strongly things feel true based on how often and how easily they come to mind. Repetition makes statements feel more credible, even if you know they came from a dubious source. Simple, emotionally charged stories are easier for your brain to process than complex, nuanced explanations. "They are all against us" takes less effort than "this is a mix of systemic issues, conflicting incentives, and human error." Because the simple story is processed more fluently, it feels more right. That feeling of rightness is not a reliable signal of accuracy. It's just your brain's way of saying, "this was easy to digest." But when you stand in front of a cracked relationship or a collapsing belief system, ease and familiarity are incredibly attractive. The comforting narrative you've heard 100 times will almost always feel more real than a complicated truth you saw once in a screenshot.
None of this would be so dangerous if it stayed inside your own head. But other people, politicians, advertisers, cult leaders, toxic partners, learn, consciously or not, how to lean on these biases. They repeat simple slogans until they feel like common sense. They frame every challenge to their story as an attack from a hostile outgroup so that rejecting the lie feels like betraying your tribe. They give you identities, the smart ones, the awakened, the loyal, that you will want to protect, even if protecting them means twisting facts. The more you tie your sense of who you are to a particular narrative, the more your brain will defend that narrative for you, automatically. At that point, they do not have to lie very well. Your own mind will do most of the work. The scariest part is how invisible this is from the inside. You do not feel manipulated by your brain. You feel principled. You feel loyal. You feel like you are sticking to what's right while everyone else flips with the wind. When new facts arrive, you experience the discomfort, the flash of pain, the urge to look away. Then, very quickly, you experience relief as you find a way to file those facts somewhere less dangerous. It's not the whole story. The timing is suspicious. This doesn't change the big picture. The lie does not present itself as a lie. It presents itself as balance, nuance, skepticism, maturity. It borrows the tone of careful thinking while doing the exact opposite, protecting foregone conclusions from reality checks. So what can you actually do with this? You cannot rewire your brain from the ground up. You cannot opt out of cognitive dissonance, confirmation bias, or motivated reasoning. But you can learn to recognize their fingerprints. Whenever a piece of information threatens your pride, your relationships, or your group, and your first reaction is not curiosity but anger, ridicule, or instant dismissal, that is a red flag. When you find yourself changing the standard of proof for one side of a conflict but not the other, that is a red flag. When you catch yourself saying, "deep down I know, but I just don't want to think about it yet," that is not a throwaway line. That is the moment where you are watching your own brain steer you away from the truth. The point is not to turn yourself into a paranoid robot who never trusts anything, including your own emotions. The point is to understand that the feeling of certainty is not proof of accuracy. It is just proof that a story fits comfortably inside your existing mental world. Your brain will keep trying to make you believe convenient lies, especially when the truth would force you to change who you are, who you trust, or how you live. The only real defense is to notice when that comfort shows up suspiciously fast, when the excuses come easier than the questions, and to pause long enough to ask, do I actually have good reasons for this belief, or do I just really need it to be true? The answer to that question will not always be pleasant, but it is the only path that leads you out of a reality your brain manufactured for your safety and back toward the one you are actually living in.